Live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
I have never seen this before. We have a double stack of lenticular clouds on both sides of Mount St. Helens there.
It's incredible, and they almost look like just a couple of wide-rimmed beach hats or something. I mean, it's just so beautiful.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people have been expressing their, what they look like to them, and we'll leave it at beach hats. Yeah.
What? Come on, people, get your heads out of the gutter. They're hats.
Absolutely.
They look like hats.
Weatherman, we can't allow any further delay. So stop your waiting.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for another episode of the Fox 12 Weather Podcast. This is episode 96. Today is Thursday, April 4th. I'm meteorologist Jeff Orgeron, joined by Camila Ortiz. Hey Camila.
Hello, Jeff. We're a small but mighty crew today.
We sure are, yeah. Big question is, where is Mark Nelson? He's usually on the podcast, and that's our first bullet point of the podcast. We're going to be talking about where he is. I think people that follow his social media probably have a clue as to where he's headed, but we're also going to talk about this unsettled weather pattern that we're in. We've been dealing with a few waves of showers. That's going to continue through the weekend, and we also have quite a bit of mountain snow coming, so we'll cover that, along with how the snowpack numbers are looking as of today, April 4th. Warm weather looks like it's pretty high likelihood of that next week. So we're going to be going over that weather pattern, which is exciting. And then we're going to also talk about metro area frost dates, the latest frost recorded over the past 7 years, because I know a lot of people are itching to get out and get the gardens going. So we'll talk about when it's safe to do that. And we also have a handful of viewer photos that we're going to show at the end of this podcast. We've been including some of those in the past couple of podcasts, and we had some really good ones come in over the past week. So we're going to go show you some of those.
Oh, I'm excited. I think I know which ones you're going to be pulling up.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the first time that I am driving our graphics here. Camila, does it look normal still when I click over there?
Yeah, I mean, so far so good. But yeah, buckle up, folks, because we don't know how this is going to go.
Yeah, this is new. Mark is usually the one that drives the graphics, even though I usually set everything up beforehand. So, all right, where in the world is Mark Nelson? Well, if you follow Mark on social media, Mark has been very excited about this eclipse that's coming up. So he is traveling halfway across the country with his son. I got a text message from him this morning. Actually, we've been on the phone a couple times. And this is what he said. In Moab for 2 more days, tired and sore this morning, but doing world-famous Slick Rock Trail today. There's nothing like it, riding up and down petrified old sand dunes. Pretty cool, but real tough. So Mark is mountain biking. They brought their mountain bikes, and I know Mark and his son are very into that. So those are a couple of photos that he shared yesterday on social media. I believe it was yesterday.
So cool. That's that's a bucket list thing for me. Not that I'm huge into mountain biking. I'm much more of a road girly, but I mean, just the views out there, the terrain would be so neat.
When I moved from Texas, because I spent 2 years in Texas before this television market, when we moved from Texas to Oregon, we drove through where Mark took these photos in southern Utah. And we drove through there in March, and he's obviously out there in early April. And we were talking yesterday on the phone, and I told him it's a beautiful time to be out there, especially when you kind of drive around the Wasatch Range and the Rockies, just gorgeous landscapes.
Yeah, really, really cool. I'm excited to hear his stories. Hopefully he's staying safe and not injuring himself.
Yep. And Mark is, our news director is in the other. We're good. We got the podcast going, Chris. Yeah, we're live. Mark is headed out to Central Texas. He's headed to Dallas to observe the eclipse. Now, the big question about this eclipse is whether there will be cloud cover and how thick the cloud cover will be. So, Camila, you kind of threw together this graphic here, which shows, I actually brought this graphic in. This is last night's European model run. It shows precipitation types, and of course, it shows cloud cover.
Yeah.
And Yeah, I think a lot of people have been looking at the cloud cover forecast for the past 10 days or so, which is not very accurate.
Right.
It's been changing every day.
Yeah.
But you were kind of diving into the forecast and the details. So,
Yeah.
what did you gather last night and this morning?
Yeah, so it's tricky. And of course, we want to start looking at this once we're kind of within that 7-day period, just for accuracy purposes with our models. But yeah, we unfortunately there's an upper level low that's kind of diving into the desert southwest. And because of the positioning of that and the fact that, it's kind of west of this path of totality, which you can see on this graphic, kind of roughly drew it. So don't get on me if it's not 100% accurate. But because of the positioning of that, it's basically drawing in that moist air from over the ocean and from the Gulf. Right. And that's causing, the potential for a lot of cloud cover there in portions of, Southwest Texas, Central Texas, through kind of the kind of central portion of this path of totality line. So, I know there's also some severe weather threat with that as well. Unstable atmosphere. I know the SPC actually issued a severe weather risk for Monday, which is Eclipse Day. And by the way, we have this paused right about when totality is expected. I think it's 11:40 our time, 1:40 Central Time. But yeah, we could see thunderstorms bubbling up with this setup, strong winds. So it's kind of a toss-up right now, Jeff, but I really, really hope for Mark's sake and everybody else traveling that things are going to be changing.
Yeah, a biggie down there in Central Texas and Southeast Texas is they get these low clouds that surge in, that low-level moisture out ahead of severe thunderstorms, for instance.
Right.
It is severe weather season out there. And I experienced this for 2 years, seeing those low clouds, and then they kind of break apart. And the question is, how much sunshine are you going to get out ahead of thunderstorms to kind of fuel them?
Right.
So yeah, I jokingly told Mark, if you're not going to eclipse chase, you might as well storm chase while you're out there.
Yeah. See if he catches a tornado or something. But yeah, hopefully things kind of get tamer, I guess, as we get closer. But it does look like if you're kind of heading to the northeast, better chances of seeing some clearer skies up there.
Yeah, that's big talker on social media right now is how many people are booking flights up to New England to catch this eclipse. So keep an eye on Mark's social media, because I'm sure we're going to be getting updates from him. And of course, a lot of people are going to be watching this eclipse. So that'll be exciting. That's coming on Monday.
Yep.
All right. So moving on, we're clearly in an unsettled weather pattern right now. It hasn't been all that rainy, but between Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday afternoon, our high temperature swing, we dropped by 24 degrees.
Massive.
So we went from 78 to 54, and we're forecasting highs in the 50s through the weekend. So some pretty chilly conditions come in. So this is a satellite loop right here. Camila, can you see my cursor?
Yes, I can.
By the way, shout out to all the people that are listening to the podcast that are just catching the audio version. But if you want to check out the awesome graphics that we show on this podcast, you can catch the podcast on our website, kptv.com/weather. Just click the podcast tab. You can also see it on YouTube later in the week, and it airs on Fox 12 now at 2 o'clock on Fridays, which you can see on, I believe, on YouTube, but also on Facebook. So, yep, it's pretty obvious where that upper level trough is. It's carving out over the Eastern Pacific Ocean, and it's lifting into California, which got hammered this morning by a line of, the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area got hammered by a line of heavy rain, heavy showers. We're also seeing kind of some moisture associated with that, and you can almost actually see that plume right there where the cursor is, Camila.
Yeah.
Those are some showers that are spilling over the Cascades and into the metro area. So on this mid to late Thursday morning, we're catching some light rain in the metro, but the Cascades are feeling more of that with some snow. So this is the upper level pattern. There's your trough of low pressure. Remember, an easy way, if you're not a complete weather nerd, but you like the podcast, a really easy way to remember what low pressure, upper level low pressure, and upper level high pressure does. Upper level low pressure brings lousy weather. Upper level high pressure brings happy weather.
Nice. Low, lousy, high, happy. I like that.
Just to simplify it. I mean, again, not everybody is super into the meteorology, but one of my my mentors early in my career said, sometimes just throw that out there and it'll help people catch on. So, it's pretty obvious where the ridge is. That's well over the Pacific, but the trough is carving out over the Eastern Pacific and the West Coast. So that's why we're experiencing this inclement weather, and that will be the case today. We'll jump ahead on this upper level chart. Actually, there we go, Saturday. So this is today. Oh, you know what? I think the graphics kind of screwed up there, but it's okay. That trough is going to be with us through the weekend or through Friday, and then we'll have another wave coming through this weekend. So this is the European ensemble outlook, Camilla, and it's pretty obvious that we're going to be dealing with wet weather. I highlighted the bottom of the screen there to just kind of show you Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and maybe into part of Monday we could have a shower or two, but I think things should be kind of trending drier.
Yeah. And then based on your forecast note this morning, it looks like you were agreeing that Saturday kind of looks like the wettest day, right, of the next little stretch here.
It does, yeah. And you can actually, and that's going to be a second system coming through, which unfortunately the graphics didn't depict that. There's going to be a second weaker trough that's going to slide through, kind of a short wave, and that's going to bring a pretty wet day on Saturday. I would expect to see more frequent showers. You can see that it's kind of captured on these ensemble members.
Yeah, and I mean, if the other graphic would have worked, because I think it's more of a westerly flow, which typically gives us more robust showers.
Exactly, and some decent mountain snow too. And then we're going to really get into beyond the weekend, which obviously you can see a gap on here. So the European and GFS ensemble members are in really good agreement that drier weather will be coming later next week, early to midweek of next week, in fact. But this is just a quick little precipitation loop here between today, tomorrow, and Saturday. And what it's showing is, we'll start here, the wraparound moisture bringing snow to the Cascades and also the Blue and Wallowa Mountains, and then that secondary wave that Camilla just described coming out of the west. That'll bring us frequent showers Saturday, and then a few showers Sunday, tapering off probably during the afternoon.
Yeah. But really scattered. I mean, that NAM does a good job of showing that. I mean, pretty weak sauce overall, wouldn't you say?
I would say that don't count on seeing a gully washer soaking rain over the next few days. But because we'll have showers around, mostly cloudy skies, and that cooler upper level trough, that's going to keep our temperatures unseasonably cool for this time of year.
Yeah, below average. We should be upper 50s, right? This time of year?
Actually, I think that the high temperature, I think it's 60 now.
Oh, it bumped up maybe today.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the snow forecast, by the way. I got a little criticism last week by Mark Nelson. It's all good. It's all good.
All out of love.
Yeah. So this is showing the snow forecast Thursday, Friday, and through most of Saturday for the Mount Hood area. And there's some healthy snow coming, and we have to remember that typically the peak mountain snow around the Mount Hood area is observed in late March. So we're technically past the peak, and we're still getting some pretty decent snow. So this computer model, this is our IBM graph model, it's pumping out about 6 to 8 inches of snow over the next few days at government camp, and perhaps 1.5 feet or so of snow up at Timberline. So I think, Camilla, if I'm not mistaken, all the Washingtonian kids are still on spring break.
I think that was this week, yeah.
So maybe they'll be able to get up there and enjoy some of the snow over the next few days if they're into skiing and snowboarding. So that's what the Mount Hood area will be dealing with. Be prepared for winter traveling conditions, especially during the coolest times of the day through government camp and Santiam Pass, which could pick up about 1 foot of snow over the next few days. And see all the blue shaded areas out there in Northeast Oregon around the Blue and Wallowa Mountains. They're going to get a good amount of snow with that second wave coming through on basically between tonight, Friday, and Saturday morning. And the Weather Service in Pendleton had to issue a winter storm warning that goes into effect this evening at 5 o'clock to highlight the potential for 10 to 20 inches of snow in that part of the Blue Mountains. So,
wow.
Yep, that's great news. In fact, Camilla, last week, Northeast Oregon was dealing with below normal snowpack, but they've jumped up to near normal now.
That's right. Yeah, this is like hitting the exact spots that need it, these systems.
Exactly. And so, between the Cascade snow and the snow off into Northeast Oregon, we're just going to see our Oregon snowpack numbers improve. So this is as of this morning. Most of the region is dealing with near normal or even above normal snowpack. So this is considering we're in an El Nino year, and oftentimes our snowpack suffers during El Nino years. This is really good stuff.
Yeah, not too shabby for sure.
Okay, so we talked about the cool showery pattern that we're anticipating through the weekend, but then we have some really good stuff to look forward to next week with a warmer pattern setting up and a stretch of dry weather.
Yeah.
So this is the same upper level chart, but this is showing what we'll be kind of heading into on Monday. So that deep trough will be centered, it looks like, over the desert Southwest.
And that's the exact system. You can see it here. That's going to be maybe causing problems for that folks in that path of totality line.
Exactly. Yeah. When they have deep upper level troughs like this dig into the Four Corners region, it's usually like a telltale sign there's going to be a lot of lift in the atmosphere in the plains, and that can lead to a severe weather outbreak this time of year. So if Mark better get a tornado shot. If he doesn't get the eclipse, he better go find a tornado for us.
I know. You know what? At least he got all that cool mountain biking into. It was smart that they did kind of the double loop it into a fun father-son trip as well, and not just put all your eggs in the eclipse basket.
Being a meteorologist for this many years, I think in the back of his mind, he was like, there is a chance that it'll be a bust. Let's hope it isn't. But let's all hope for Mark's sake it isn't. But yeah, so getting back to this upper level chart, this is what Monday's looking like. You can see that a ridge is going to be building out of the Eastern Pacific and kind of expanding over the Pacific Northwest. So that's Monday. And then this is Wednesday. That ridge kind of amplifies and builds right over the Pacific Northwest, and it looks like it'll really be centered over California. So we've got a nice warm up coming. Pattern recognition, you see this as a meteorologist and you're like, yeah, that's warm spring weather on the way.
Yeah.
So right back to that European ensemble chart, Camila, when you don't have very many ensemble members, which is each horizontal line right here, when you don't have many pumping out precipitation over a stretch of days, which you can see highlighted in the yellow there, essentially Monday afternoon through next weekend into the early part of the following week.
That's a good stretch. Yeah, that's crazy. A full week, folks. That's the potential here.
Is there agreement between the Euro ensemble members and the GFS?
Oh, look at that. Pretty
Decent
close.
Agreement. Yeah, so I think there are hints that maybe the ridge breaks down the following weekend. So maybe like 10 days out, we start to see rain again. Showers, but there's not a really clear signal of that. And Mark will be proud. I would lean on the Euro outlook.
Wow.
Long
Write that down. Put it in the record books.
Yeah. Long-time GFS fan here.
Yeah.
But yeah, GFS has been kind of weak sauce. So, all right, how warm is it going to get? That's the question. So, did you work yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think you and Katie had a high temperature for next Wednesday at like 66-ish, right?
Yeah. Katie did the 7-day. I was doing the zones. We kind of tag teamed it.
This is the national blend of models. This blends a bunch of models together. This is the Portland outlook, temperature outlook for basically the next 10 days or so. And it's showing obviously 50s through the weekend. And then Monday, Tuesday, around 60 to 65.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday, Thursday, could that be when the peak heat, if you will, arrives? This is a conservative outlook, I will say. It's showing Wednesday in the upper 60s and Thursday in the low 70s. Here's why I think it's a conservative outlook. We'll jump over to our good old 850 millibar temperature outlook. Camila, do you want to break this down?
Yeah, so we're seeing, it looks like Wednesday through Friday, you have that highlighted there, plus 10 for 850 millibar. I would need to look at that handy chart that Mark made.
That one?
You got it. Of course you do.
So really quick, let's just circle back really quick for those folks that maybe just be joining or are just joining us rather for the first time on this podcast. We like to look at the temperature outlook at 5,000 feet. This gives us a fairly good signal of what the surface temperatures may look like. We can kind of correlate them on Mark's chart, his handy chart that he explained last week in the podcast. But Camila just talked about how we could have 10 degrees Celsius temperatures at about 5,000 feet around Wednesday and Thursday or so. And what would that translate to? So if we look at this chart, which we like to use in the warmer seasons, if we look at the bottom here, it shows roughly, let's just say 8 to 10 degrees Celsius temperatures. Is that fair, Camilla?
Yeah.
Conservatively, we bring it up and it shows what could correlate to our surface temperatures in Fahrenheit on the left. So that's what I circled right there in the yellow. And that puts us in the, conservatively 70
to
73.
75. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think like if we have a lot of sunshine that day, we could be up near 75, 76. I mean, last week, it was earlier this week, we hit 78 degrees. And I don't know off the top of my head what the 850 millibar temperature was exactly, but I think it was around 9 or 10 degrees Celsius.
I think so. Yeah.
So
yeah,
I
so
think
it's possible.
I think it's very possible that mid to upper 70s could happen 1 or 2 days, but conservatively speaking, we're probably looking at 70 to 75. What do you think?
Yeah, and it looked like, I mean, based on what the NBM was spitting out, we could have 5 or 6 days there above average temperatures.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have the Fox 12 weather app and you hop on there, or you just see our forecasts on TV or what have you, you'll see that things are going to warm up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Camilla's going to update the forecast later to include Thursday, but I think 60s are totally reasonable for Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. I popped us up to 72 degrees.
I saw that. Yeah, I totally agree though. Yep.
So yeah, we'll wait and see how warm it could get, but I know a lot of you are now itching to get out there and get the gardens going, at least some of the stuff that can withstand the cooler nights. And I thought, let's bring in some updated frost dates, like the latest frost has been over the past 7 years in the metro area. We'll start with Portland here. Updated this morning. Last year, and by the way, kind of a stickler on this. We've had conversations in the past about this. So frost forms obviously when it's around freezing, right, Camilla?
Yeah.
Our chart right here shows the latest 32-degree reading at PDX over the past 7 years. So last year, March 16th, we were at or below 32 degrees. So temperatures are actually measured 6 feet off the ground, all right, if you're following protocol. And colder air likes to sink to the lowest point, right?
True.
So it is definitely possible that if your thermometer or your weather station is reading 33, 34 degrees, there could be frost on the ground. There could be frost on your windshields because on those cool, calm nights without really any wind, that colder air just sinks to the lowest point. So even though our chart shows this, it's possible that we had some minor frost beyond that, but just for simplicity.
Yeah, we have to pick a number. Yeah.
This is the latest 32-degree readings that we've recorded at PDX. And Portland tends, at least over the past 7 years, tends to see the last frost somewhere between, mid-March, mid to late March.
Yeah.
An outlier was 2021 when we had a frosty morning on April 11th. So, yeah, now that we're at April 4th, I figured, we might be pretty safe. I have some really extended outlooks that will show regarding temperatures, but because of the urban heat island effect, because we have a lot more asphalt and pavement in the city, usually we see our last frost a little bit earlier compared to the outlying locations that are grassier, like Hillsborough, for instance. So if we bring those up, those numbers, let's say that you live in the city of Portland, you might be in pretty good shape to start, thinking about your gardens. But if you live in Hillsborough, let's say you live in Forest Grove, Corvallis, areas outside of our cities, your last frost may not arrive until, mid to late April. So these numbers right here, these dates show that the last frost in Hillsborough over the past 7 years, all but one happened in the month of April. And a lot of them happened after April 12th. So
Yeah.
it still might be worthwhile waiting to put stuff in the soil, maybe keep them potted, those plants, and be able to bring them indoors.
Yeah. And so that ridge, hold on, let me pull up that calendar, because we know we've got that ridge coming, and that'll get us through basically the 13th, 14th, but it still might be worth it to see maybe what's coming after that in case we get another trough maybe that comes through.
Yeah, and so that's a good point. It's helpful to have these really extended outlooks. This is an outlook, the European ensemble outlook, all the way out to, let me see here.
The text is so small.
That's May 19th, but we're not going to have to look that far out because we're safe in May. But I do see one little dip in the temperature outlook around
the 21st?
April 21st, where we might see metro temperatures drop back into the 30s. Don't exactly know what could be happening around then. But other than that, I mean, if you look across here in the yellow shaded region, it doesn't look like we have many mid to low 30s coming anytime soon, at least in Portland. And that's the Euro outlook. This is the GFS outlook, and it's in pretty good agreement as well.
Oh, yeah.
So I almost texted my wife this morning. I got kind of busy, but I almost texted her. I think it's time.
You think it's go time? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's time to at least get some starters going. Some small pots. That way, you know, a couple of weeks from now, we'll be able to put them in the soil.
Yeah. So. Exciting.
Yeah.
What will you guys be growing?
Oh man. We eat a lot of tomatoes, so we'll probably go crazy with the tomatoes, I think. We've tried to grow peppers and we've had not so great of luck. This is not the best climate. At least maybe our yard is not positioned in a certain way to grow very hot peppers or big peppers.
Yeah.
We did a really fine job, I will say, growing cucumbers last year.
Oh, okay.
And did some pickling. Kale, of course, lettuce if we can, and carrots and things like that. Do you have any plans? I know you guys. No. Nothing?
No, because I have too much going on, and I have these ideas in my head of like, oh, I want to do this, then I want to do this, but like realistically, I don't have the time right now to do it. I have, like I said, I know I've mentioned this in other podcasts, I have the area literally set up and leveled to put in a planter box, and I just haven't done it.
What about like some potted plants?
I could do that. I at one point did have a tomato plant on the patio, and I killed it because I forgot to water it. So, you know, there's a learning curve here, Jeff.
I got an idea.
Yeah.
You should grow rosemary.
Okay. Herbs are easier?
It's about as easy as it gets.
It's like a weed? That's what I need. I need something that's like a weed.
It was alive. Our rosemary bush was alive until the ice storm in January, and then
that finally killed it.
Wrecked. Yeah,
wow.
It hasn't recovered. How about this? We'll get a bunch of starters going, and I'll leave a couple in the weather center. I had a tomato starter for you last year.
Yeah.
And I never brought it in, and it ended up dying. That was my bad. But I will bring you a couple starters. You just throw them in pots.
Okay.
Just gonna throw some water in, you know, every few. And I think you can grow some stuff.
Okay. Oh my gosh, this will be fun. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm up for the challenge. I think starting small is the way to go.
Are you ready for some viewer photos?
Yes.
Shout out to all of our viewers, by the way.
Amazing.
That send us these incredible photos. And if you weren't listening last week, there's a copyright thing where our company, for good reason, doesn't want to get sued for using photos without permission. So we have to get them sent in a certain way for us to be able to show them on the podcast and so on and so forth. So I'm going to leave just the way to do it on the right side of the screen there, kptv.com/weather. You'll see submit photos on the website, or you could do it through our weather app. Yep. That's the easiest way to submit photos and videos. Got to start off with one that really stood out to me.
My goodness.
And by the way, shout out to Becky Hendrick, but also a shout out to Ian Reed, who sent in a time lapse of this lenticular formation over Mount St. Helens. This happened earlier this week. I have never seen this before. We have a double stack of lenticular clouds on both sides of Mount St. Helens there.
It's incredible. And they almost look like just a couple of wide-rimmed beach hats or something. I mean, it's just so beautiful.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people have been expressing their, what they look like to them. And, we'll leave it at beach hats. Yeah.
What? Come on, people, get your heads out of the gutter. They're hats. They look like hats.
Right. I was kind of speculating, but I think it's maybe educated speculation here. If Mount St. Helens didn't erupt, we probably would have only had one stack of lenticular clouds over the mountain that day, or over the volcano.
Yeah, but that makes sense.
Because the wind was kind of flowing, up one ridge and up another ridge.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why you have a couple of stacks that built in.
Yeah.
But just such a cool photo. So thanks to Becky for sending this one in.
Yeah.
All right, you ready for the next one?
Yes, let's go.
All right, this was sent in yesterday, which these clouds, originally they were called undulatus asperatus clouds, but I think they have simplified them, like the WMO, World Meteorological Organization, has simplified it to asperatus clouds.
Okay.
These are wavy clouds that tend to form out ahead of our, basically a weather pattern change when we go from high pressure to low pressure, and the atmosphere is moistening. It has a lot of undulation to it.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a few viewers send in this photo. Sean Freeman sent this one in, and this was just a really cool one out of Troutdale.
It almost looks like, so if you're listening and you can't see what this looks like, it almost reminds me of if you were to take like a quilt or a blanket and kind of just wrinkle it up, and that's what's over the sky. So cool.
I love these. We see these quite often in the Northwest.
Mm-hmm.
And this was, if I'm not mistaken, this was the newest cloud type brought in.
Oh, really?
Officially.
I also believe, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think these are Mark's favorite. Because at one point we were asking about favorite cloud formations, and I think it's these for Mark.
When we get Katie and Mark with the four of us on the podcast next time, we should bring that up.
Mm-hmm.
We should each have a top 3 ranking.
Easily.
So thanks again to Sean Freeman for that. All right, this was a big talker yesterday
around
the metro area.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was it yesterday or was it 2 days ago? Man, I have weather short-term memory loss, I swear. These were, well, many people know them as jellyfish clouds, and for good reason. They're technically altocumulus clouds with virga falling out of them. But yeah, Camilla, you texted us about this, and there have been very few times that I've seen a display of jellyfish clouds like what we saw. Was it yesterday? Can you remind me?
I think it was here. Actually, let me pull up because
I think it was 2 days ago.
Yeah, my friend messaged me, and I love how she worded it. She said, "Why does it look like the clouds are melting?"
It was Tuesday because yesterday was a really cool day.
Yes, you're right.
This was on the warmer day.
It was Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to explain what's going on with these?
Yeah. So, well, this is interesting, Jeff, because I think there is a little bit of back and forth maybe, because when I first saw these, I will agree with you. I don't think I've ever seen actually jellyfish clouds, certainly not so many of them in one go. So they're altocumulus clouds, like you mentioned, and virga is when you have rain that is essentially falling from the cloud but evaporating before it really gets too far. So it kind of creates that like streaky look coming down from the bottom of the cloud. But what's interesting to me, Jeff, is that these clouds, some of them were very small, right? And still had the kind of tentacles coming down. And I didn't realize that clouds that were so small could even produce rain. So I was wondering if it's possible that these are just like ice crystals and maybe there's different wind, patterns going on in different layers of the atmosphere that could almost be drawing those out. What do you think?
Oh, I think you're absolutely correct. It really depends on what elevation they're at and where the freezing level is. But these were likely ice crystals that were falling from these clouds. So
is that still technically virga, though?
Yeah. It's precipitation that falls and evaporates before it hits the ground.
Okay. See, I didn't realize that. I thought virga was specific to rain droplets.
Yeah, these alto cumulus clouds, they can form, I think it's between about 6,000 feet and like 24,000 feet in the atmosphere. So they're mid-level clouds, and that can place them either below the freezing level or above the freezing level. And if I'm not mistaken, the freezing level yesterday was at about, or 2 days ago, was at about 8,000 or 9,000 feet, maybe even 10,000 feet. So it was close. But if I were to guess, I would say that those were ice crystals that were evaporating. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, good. Yeah, that adds a little bit more context, because at first I was like, wait a minute. It just didn't seem like it would be rain, because you think of that with the stratus clouds, and that's how you typically think of Virga.
Yeah, no, we often see Virga in the summertime, where you'll have like weak showers coming in, and it's so dry and warm at the surface that they just have a really hard time hitting the ground, basically.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ron Lucky. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Ron Lucky, for sending the shots of the jellyfish clouds in. But we had like 20 viewers send photos of that.
Yeah.
All right.
That's cool.
We're gonna end it at the Wooden Shoe Tulip Farm. This was sent in, I think, over the holiday weekend by my friend Dan Stark. He shot this amazing view of the tulips, and they're in the foreground. In the background, of course, is Mount Hood, and just the landscapes out there, the views that you can see from that farm are
insane,
are just out of this world. I think people that see this on social media are like, is that even real?
That's photoshopped. Right. No, it's very
real.
It's
probably touched up, but yeah, it's real.
Yeah, but those are very real flowers, and that's a very real Mount Hood in the background.
Yep. So thanks to Dan Stark. And I saw a post by the Wooden Shoe Tulip Farm on social media today that said that they are the tulips are peaking right now. They're at peak bloom. So if you want to get out there, you'll want to go soon before we get too late in the season in the springtime. So again, thanks to all of our viewers for sending in those great photos. And that about wraps it up, Camilla. Cool. I know you got to get off to do some training. And I got to get home to my 4-month-old daughter who, well, she's not home alone. She's at work with my wife right now, but
she's advanced for her age. She's already reading books, and
she does love the song The YMCA.
Oh, is that a new favorite for her?
Yeah, I don't know why, but we started like singing it the other day, and she started looking at us and kind of kicking around, and so we threw it on the speakers, and sure enough, it's her favorite song all of a sudden.
That's adorable. I might need to request a video that maybe we can play for the next podcast. I feel like people need to see that.
Do some really embarrassing things as parents with those age of kids. But anyways, enough of that. Thanks for joining us for episode 96 of the Fox 12 Weather Podcast. We'll be back next week with more updates to your weather and your forecast. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.
You're waiting and hesitating, and tell us